Good morning. My name is Jason Johnson. Unfortunately, I just heard about a employee who committed suicide because of stress on a job. And it was said, well, maybe they should have spoken to a therapist. And somebody said, what's the point? They could have spoken to a friend or a family member, and it might not have mattered anyway. So, what's the difference between speaking to a family or friend or speaking to a therapist? We are going to spend the next couple minutes discussing why that's not true. A lot of the anger an individual feels, strife, stress, a lot of that has to deal with things and issues that are going on with relationships with friends and families. And these are things that can be very difficult to talk about. And sometimes we don't know how to talk about them without causing damage. A therapist can work with the individual to teach them and to guide them on how to communicate such concerns in a way that minimizes any potential harm to the relationships and hopefully helps them grow. Number two, sometimes people are just they feel a sense of inferiority for any number of reasons. They have perceptions in their minds that they may not be good enough, or they have anxiety thinking that the future is going to be very negative or very problematic, and this causes them a lot of stress. And they don't want to talk about these things to people because they don't want to appear weak. They don't want people to make judgments about them, so they keep it inside, but it does in fact come out. And this is something that they would not normally want to speak to or know how to speak to about it with a friend or family. So a therapist is an impartial guide or facilitator, if you will, to help them to work through, to identify what is it that's causing the internal strife, the internal self-doubt, or the thoughts in their mind that are negative and keeps them in a negative state. A therapist is specifically trained to help them to work through that. And the third one is the past. We are impacted by the past. We live in the here and now. All we have is the moment. But the past does impact how we handle the moment and how we cope with the moment. Whether it is a stressful event, an event that is upsetting, one that is confusing, one that is potentially dangerous, how we have seen it and cope with it in the past is going to impact how we cope and deal with it in the current moment and also in the future. A good therapist is going to help someone to understand how the past it does impact them in the here and now, in the moment, and in the future. And to process it, to understand it, and work through it in a way to where they're able to effectively and efficiently handle those moments where the difficult times hit. When those moments where stress, when those moments where anxiety do arise, and they will arise, that they have the tools, the capability, and the mental capacity to be able to handle it, whereas a friends and family may not. Friends and family can give unconditional love, absolutely. A therapist can be a guide to an individual to help them to understand, to cope, to work through and process in what they're going through, and give them tools and guidance on how to handle the current moments in their life and also those events in the future. So those are the main differences between talking to a good therapist and talking to a family friend. Now, I have linked an article to this for you to read, which is good, but I would also like to hear your opinion on what you think the difference is between talking to a good friend, family, and or talking to a therapist, because there are a lot of opinions out there and a lot of experiences, and I would enjoy hearing them. So until then, have a good weekend, and I will talk to you next week.